what's up, guys? Got another new video here for you. This is Tuned In Sports back with another video. And today we've got the Week 1 review coming at you for NFL action. The season is not, the Week 1 is not quite wrapped up, but all of our teams have finished playing for the week. And we're, looking ahead to Week 2 now. So we figured we'd go ahead and break down our games of this week. So I'm Bryson.
I'm Bennett.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Don.
And so we're excited to, finally football is officially back. It's been going for a while with the preseason stuff, but that's not nearly as exciting as getting pissed off on a Sunday. So we're going to go ahead and get into these games. But I figured maybe we go ahead and start on a high note this week, actually, and we'll get into the Bengals first, I thought. The Bengals had a game against the Minnesota Vikings at home, in which they managed to scrape it out in overtime for their first win of the season, and first game with Joe Burrow back as the quarterback for him, and, brought him back on a high note with this nice win today against Minnesota, who's usually pretty tough.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were expecting me to talk next or what, but you know what? I'll give my 2 cents. Great win today. Vikings, like he said, they're only a pretty tough opponent. The way we held up on defense most of the game, outside of the second half, we came out in the first half and held them to 7, and then most of the scoring by them was done in the second half. So I've seen major improvements on both sides of the ball. The run game was basically unstoppable today. Mixon had 29 rushes for 127 yards, so he looked great. Burrow came out and looked pretty much like he had never lost a step. In fact, I almost think he looked better than he did his rookie year. So, I was pretty impressed with the performance. Nearly blew it in the second half, giving up
21 points, I think.
Yeah, it was a pretty poor coaching job in the second half for the most part. And, but besides that, really what matters is that we pulled it out in overtime. So I was happy to see that. And
nice for the rookie to
get
a game.
Again, I'm going to give this guy some props. This McPherson kid can kick it. And I'm not lying about that. He's hit multiple 50-yarders in games, in preseason or week one. Week 1, he hit a 53-yarder and also a game winner. So how can you complain about that? Compared to Bullock, I'm already liking this guy 10 times more. Solid performance all around. Defensive line looked really good too. They got a handful of sacks, which was great. So, I'm happy. I'm pleased and look forward to playing the Bears next week for sure. Should be a good game.
Want to go?
Sure, I'll take it. I'd like to start by saying, screw you, month of Bob. No, good, encouraging day for the Bengals. They needed to come out and get a win, give the fans something positive to cheer about. Nice to see Jamar Chase, make some catches, get a touchdown. He's been struggling a little bit in preseason, hanging on to the ball, so huge for him as well, because that definitely wasn't something he was doing in college. He wasn't dropping balls, so it was kind of an odd thing to see him doing that during the preseason, but it looked like he made it ready to ship today. He got his confidence back, and if it continues to happen like it did today for him, watch out for the Bengals, because that offense is going to get very difficult to stop. So, I liked what I saw. which was very little just because I was working. But from what I did see of it, looked pretty good today. So, yeah, very encouraging for the fans of Cincinnati. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was not able to watch very much of this game just because I was watching the Eagles, and the Eagles were playing at the same time as the Bengals today. However, I did watch the whole overtime period at the end of the game, and it was kind of unfortunate that it was at the point where they needed an overtime, because they were pretty well in control for a good portion of the game, and then they let the Vikings, tie it up in the final seconds of the fourth quarter. And then, in the overtime period, it looked like, I was honestly thinking it reminded me a lot of the Bengals versus the Eagles last year. Where
I was thinking that same thing.
I was thinking like, okay, this is going to end in a tie. But then they got a crucial turnover, and I mean crucial in more than one way, because I was thinking the Vikings were going to go down and kick a field goal on that one, because it looked like they were starting to get something together. But the Bengals forced a fumble on Dalvin Cook, took the ball, and that was pretty much all she wrote, because after that they completed a nice pass down the field. And from that point on, like he said, McPherson, they ran it a couple times, and McPherson kicked it through the uprights. So, good job by the Bengals. Kind of almost what they like to call the bend but not break kind of thing going on today. It wasn't always pretty, but they held on and won in front of the home crowd against a pretty solid team usually. And then, the only other thing too is there was a point during the game when Joe Burrow came limping off the field for a while after a possession, and that was a little bit scary to see, but they dialed it back a little bit and didn't put him in too many dangerous positions the rest of the game, and he appeared to be fine. I mean, like I said, I saw the highlight later on, and from when I was watching during the overtime period, it looked like he was pretty much, back 100%, to normal.
100%, yeah.
So good to see that, we didn't have any, it was nothing more than just a scare, but nonetheless, not exactly something that you want to see week one. But anyways, yeah, good job by the Bengals, and like I said, the Vikings are always a game team, so to get a win against them at home for week one, I think that's a
really solid start. I'll say that.
A good sign for their season, and just the fact that they play competitively and stuff like that. Good job to the Bengals today.
Yeah, I was going to say for Cincinnati's game, good win for them. Did what they needed to do. Had some people break out like Chase. Caught some breaks on a few things, but they took advantage of it and did what they needed to do. Minnesota, again, kind of basic team, really. Stop Cook as much as you can. And they do have Thielen, Jefferson, and some things, but they got Cousins too, so that kind of washes it.
Well,
anyway, but a good win though. Like I said, they were ahead for most of the game. Almost gave up the goat at the end, but then pulled it out. So
yeah,
good W.
Well, I mean, another interesting thing though is, like, speaking of Cook, we held him to 61 yards today on 20 rushes. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty solid performance for the defense in terms of that aspect of it, stopping the run.
That's huge from that standpoint.
I mean, to me, that's great. Couldn't ask for much better, I'll say, because there's not a lot of teams that are holding him to that much yards. I'll say that. I mean, yeah, but really pleased with that performance, and the glaring what's the word, like, the glaring weakness today though was Eli Apple being out there instead of Trey Waynes. he got burnt multiple times, and I remember that one play where they busted it out for like a 24-yard gain for a first down because Eli Apple missed a tackle on the guy. Remember that? I mean, we were watching that play and I was about disgusted. But, really not a lot of bad to say about today. So, yeah, as I said, look forward to next week.
And they're playing who?
The Bears, actually.
Oh, Bears. Okay, cool. Should be another interesting test, especially with the offensive line and stuff, because the defensive line for the Bears is usually pretty good. So,
Yeah.
be interesting to see how that goes. All right, let's move on to the next game. We'll go ahead and get into the Lions' performance up next. They had a game against the San Francisco 49ers, and like I said before, I was watching the Eagles game that was on at the same time as this, so I did not watch much of anything outside of maybe some highlights that popped, like game breaks during the thing. But for the most part, from what it looked like, the Lions offense struggled pretty well, and so therefore the defense was out there a lot, and the 49ers just kind of ran them over for a while. And then, once garbage time came, they managed to probably get some, string some plays together against the prevent defense and, kind of make it interesting at the end. But for the most part, it wasn't much of a game. And even at the end, I don't think the game was really in question. It was just kind of like, oh, wow, that's kind of interesting. But they did have the ball with, a few seconds left, and I think they were on like the 30-yard line or around there. So, they could have done something. They would have needed to score the touchdown and get the 2-point conversion. But, first of all, I don't think that, in the prediction, none of us picked the Lions to win. And I think the closest that anyone had it was being a 10-point game. So, I mean, I'm not saying that to make fun of the Lions. I'm just saying that to say that the expectations for this game weren't necessarily for them to come out with an easy victory. It was just going to be a matter of how they looked and how they performed. And, they struggled for a while, but I feel like, the fact that they didn't just go ahead and throw in the towel and lose 44-17 or something like that, shows that the team put up a fight and, kept playing even when the game felt like it was in doubt. So I think that's good coaching, and I think that that's a good sign of things to come. And I was reading through some of the social media stuff on the Lions page, and it seemed like one of the consensus things from fans on social media reacting to the games that I saw was that the team already looks more well coached than they did all last season. And this is one game, so we'll see what happens, but a lot of people seem to think that it was nice that they showed fight at the end when there was a slim chance that they were going to be able to win. So good job to that. Unfortunately, very rough opening opponent to draw the Niners after the disappointing season they had last year. It was unfortunate they had to play them, but hey, you got a tough one out early, and we're able to see where you were at. So you got to play them at some point. Might as well do it do it at the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, a loss is a loss anyways. Doesn't matter how it occurred. In my opinion, I watched some of the game today. Happened to be on here locally in our area, so it was kind of nice to be able to see it. They kind of looked pretty good coming out of the gates. Things were looking pretty positive. First drive and everything was pretty much right down the field. I was like, wow, this is nice. That doesn't mean that there wasn't quite a few mistakes being made. I saw some pretty bad passes, along with just some, drop balls that should have been caught. I can think of one DeAndre Swift should have caught that, and then another one that could have been a touchdown that was dropped. But overall, you know, I think there's a lot of positives that they can take away from today. Number one being that, you know, they didn't give up. They came out when they were down. They put some drives together. The defense stepped up and played well when it needed to give them a chance to do what they did. Because without the defense holding, it wouldn't matter. You know, so it was just kind of a snowball of, you know, things that happened for them that were pretty positive. And I mean, they're not in any way, shape, or form equal talent with the Niners.
Yes.
There's a huge difference there. And I think, who was it that you told me that the coach kind of said, we can't afford mistakes with the talent we got on this team. And that's really a true statement. You know, it just, you can't. You can't afford mistakes when you ain't got talent. So, but with that being said, I mean, they kind of created the situation as well. To me, I mean, we got rid of a lot of receivers and stuff that really probably didn't need to go, that were pretty goddamn good players. And if we had those people today, maybe we would have fared better. I mean, I understand that the turnover has to happen or whatever, but I mean, Marvin Jones probably would have caught a couple of those passes. So it's just one of those things that's kind of bittersweet. Sucks that we lose still. Nice to see some, you know, positive things happen. I do think the coaching staff is definitely better than what we've had there. That's why I say it's kind of depressing to watch plays being missed when you had guys there that would have made the plays previously. So I don't know. Overall, like I said, I'll take some positives, but it's still a loss. Still stings. And now we get to face Green Bay next week, who's coming off a shit loss, and it could be an ugly game. But we'll see what happens. That's all I got.
Yeah, I thought it was a good start from the Lions. You know, kind of what I kind of thought. You know, going to come out strong and hang with the 49ers, and then spiraled out of control. Was it that one 38-10, something like that?
Yeah.
Was at one point, and then near the end, you know, there was the Kittle missing the onside kick, and then Samuel fumbling on the first down. But again, kudos to the Lions for keeping into the game, and you know, actually coming down to having a chance of putting this thing, you know, within 2 points or even tie it. So, like I said, good job on the coach staff for keeping everybody involved. Where, you know, I think previous years it would have just spiraled to like 50 or 60 to 10. You know, at that point. So I think with that was a positive that they can move forward on. But you know, as they saw, you know, and they'll look back at the film, hopefully, that they'll see the glaring weaknesses and stuff that that they saw, which they already acknowledge, right? That we already know we don't have the pieces, but looking back on it, it will definitely show what they're lacking in certain areas, and then hopefully be able to mitigate it moving forward and then address it later via free agency and then draft.
I think, not to interrupt you, but I thought Taylor Decker being out really hurt the offensive line. That was a big major problem, in my opinion. The blocking was just not very good, and Sewell, as good as he might become, he's still got a long way to go before he's at that level. Wonderful player, in college. I'm sure that, he's got the talent to make it at this level. But, you're asking a lot of a rookie to go up against Bosa, today. And for the most part, he did a pretty good job on him. But, again, it's just, the offensive line, when everybody's healthy, I do believe it's pretty good. But you have an injury, they got no depth, and it was a glaring. it showed today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it showed. I mean, Goff was pretty much under duress most of the afternoon, which for him isn't a great thing, because I don't think he's, the greatest quarterback when he's not pressured. But when he's but nothing but pressure on him, it definitely is going to affect him. But anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
Nope.
Yeah, and when you also when he was talking about weaknesses, I mean, Dad kind of touched on it already, but one of the biggest things, and this was a concern that we all kind of mentioned going into the game, was just the receiving core and where they were at, and I wasn't really very impressed from what I saw from the receiving core most of the day. The top four people with receiving yards in this game were tight ends and running backs. They had 3 different running backs that had more receptions than the number one receiver, and the top receiver basically had 3 receptions or 2 or something like that. And from what I saw and from what I was, like I said, from what I was reading on social media and stuff like that, was that pretty much the receiving core was just kind of just out there, not really making much of an impact. And like you said, it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like they had people in that position that would be helping this current team and the current roster that I don't necessarily think needed to go in order for them to do what they did. You know what I mean? Because basically all they did was just bring over the guy from the Raiders and stuff like that. And I mean, my guess would be he's probably got around the same contract as what Marvin Jones had. So why not just keep the guy that you've already seen instead of taking a chance on some guy that's relatively unproven. So that's kind of unfortunate that happened, and I think receiving is something that they will be looking to target in the upcoming season, because I think this group is
Well, they got a lot of young guys, though. I mean,
Yeah.
St. Brown is a rookie from USC.
Yeah.
They targeted him a couple times. I think he looks good. A couple of the guys, they just picked up that Trinity Benson from the Broncos. He had 1 or 2 catches, I think. And he looks like he can do something with it after he catches the ball as well, which is kind of a nice thing. But again, like we said, it's, to me, just because the new coaching staff came in doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get rid of all the players. To me, they had talent. I don't think the talent was the team's record wasn't because they didn't have a decent talent on the team, in my opinion. Offensively especially. I thought they had some talent. They needed to shore up the offensive line so they can have a running game, which they addressed with Penei Sewell. But to me, I mean, you got rid of all these, decent wide receivers, and and then to see Danny Amendola going and catching touchdowns for fucking whatever team he's on now.
Texans.
Yeah, I mean, it's we could have used that. And Marvin Jones has looked like a beast so far. I mean, it's just one of those things where we could have been using that talent.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and like you say, I mean, especially those guys, I don't think that they were really, they weren't getting paid star money or anything like that. I think they probably could have afforded to keep them around. Galladay maybe would have been a little bit bigger contract, but
he ain't playing anyway. He's always hurt. I don't even care if they kept him.
yeah.
I mean, he's a nice weapon when he's healthy, but good luck. We haven't seen much of it. So, but I mean, just the other guys, to me, Marvin Jones, there's no reason to get rid of Marvin. No reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And what's the one thing that's going to help a guy like Goff, right? having weapons for him to throw to. That's what you need, right? That's what he had when he was with the Rams here. You know, give the guy weapons and he can make some throws. Give the guy nobody to throw to, and you're going to see what we saw. You know, guys, you know, dropping passes, and then he's running out of the pocket, which isn't his
forte.
Yeah, which isn't what he does well. You know, to me, it's just, I don't know, it's frustrating to watch. And I realize, you know, that these guys want to change the culture and this and that, but I mean, it would have been nice to change the culture and still win some games.
Yeah, you could have started with addressing the record as opposed to the talent.
Right. No, and I'm not suggesting the moves that they've made haven't been. I mean, I've agreed with a lot of the stuff they've done. I mean, Stafford's situation really wasn't their fault. He wanted to leave. So, what are you going to do with that? Right? I mean, I don't really have a problem with that, just because I mean, if he wants out, you know, if you don't want to be there, then you don't want him there anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have a problem with that, even though I love Stafford, but I don't have an issue with how they handled that. I just kind of found it to be like, you know, why get rid of all the weapons? You know, why?
Yeah. Instead of putting your stamp on it, how about we just win with what we got? Or at least see what we got. So.
Yeah, I just feel like that the offensive side of the ball wasn't that bad last year. It was the defense that was horrible.
Yeah. And the line.
I mean, and obviously the defense is still horrible. We gave up 40 whatever points again.
Yeah. But I mean that also kind of ties into the thing we always talk about, where you know the offense is not doing anything pretty much all day, so you just keep sending the defense out there for long periods of time, and they get tired. We've seen that on more than one of our teams on this channel. So, but anyway, you know, that's the Lions game for this week, and next week they got Green Bay, you said. So, you know, Green Bay definitely left a little bit to be desired with their performance today. So going into next week, we'll see what happens with that matchup. But let's go ahead and move on to the next game. And, you know, I got to say, it's time to talk about the Eagles. And for once, I don't have a sick feeling in my stomach. I'm actually sitting here with a smile on my face, and I'm not having to force it or anything. It's like, wow, I'm actually happy today. And I can't honestly believe that I'm saying that, but 32-6 against the Falcons today, and to be honest with you, outside of the first quarter maybe, it was not really ever in question. This was not just one of those things where, you know, kind of one thing, well, let's put it this way, in the first half, but by the time the second half rolled around, it wasn't necessarily one of those things where they just accidentally found themselves in the lead. They pretty much, from the second half, you know, once the second half started, they pretty much dominated. They really did. But, you know, with that being said, I wrote down some notes that I'll just kind of go through quickly, because I figure that's a little bit easier than trying to remember all this stuff. So, you know, like I said, we started the game pretty well. We actually lost the opening coin toss, so I was like, oh boy, here we go. You know, but then Atlanta went pretty much right down the field on us on the first drive, got a field goal. Our defense was pretty much non-existent on that first drive. They just did whatever they wanted to do. Bloop, 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 bloop here, you know, catch a ball here, run 10 yards there, catch a ball there, run 10 yards there. You know, anything that they felt like doing, they were able to do. We couldn't rush the quarterback at all. I think Matt Ryan got hit or got touched, even close to touched, once in the first drive. Opening drive for the Eagles when we came out, really good stuff. One of the things that they did today that I really was impressed with was the way that Sirianni kind of tailored the offense to the strengths of our quarterback. You know, he did a lot of run-pass option stuff. He did a lot of kind of quick screen passes and just a lot of things to kind of get him in a rhythm early. He put the playmakers in space and gave them a chance to make plays, you know, which is good. And I saw a lot of good things with that. And then, you know, obviously we ended off that drive with Devontae Smith catching his first touchdown in the regular season as an Eagle. So he was the first one to put points on the board for us today. Beautiful pass by Hurts on that one. But, you know, there was one of the main issues of the Eagles all day. And like I said, we did play really, really well. But with that being said, there's some things that we definitely need to work on moving forward. Because I saw some things that were not very good. And one of those things was penalties. On offense and defense, we just so many times I mean, the second drive, I think it was, we walked them down the field in some situations, and we walked ourselves the other direction many times today just because we couldn't stay disciplined. As a matter of fact, the offensive line alone had 8 penalties on them today, which is like, come on, guys. I mean, whether it was holding I think Jason Kelsey got called for holding on 4 separate occasions today, which is like not good. And then you know, a couple of the other guys too. It was just we were getting called for ineligible men downfield, which, you know, with that being said, I kind of understand when you're running a lot of run pass option stuff, the offensive line is playing it like it's going to be a run. So if he doesn't get rid of that ball real quick, you're going to get that call because your offensive line is acting as if you're running the ball, so they're going to be rushing downfield to try to open a hole. So that's kind of how that happens. And then Eagles' run defense is fake news. That's one of the things that I said, and that was in the opening half specifically. I mean, like every single time, it was basically chunks of 8 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards. But with that being said, I'll address that a little bit later. And then 2 dropped interceptions on the first 2 drives. You know, both of them were like it bounced off one guy, and then the other guy had a chance to make the interception and drop the ball. You know, don't get me wrong, I understand when you're not, it doesn't come right to you, and the reaction of it bouncing off somebody, you got to be quick. But with that being said, pretty much both guys had the ball touch their hands and fall through, and it's like, come on, you guys got to make that. I mean, you know, against Atlanta, it didn't really end up mattering too much because we pretty much dominated, but in the future, it could. And then the biggest negative by far for me today, besides the penalties, was just the fact that we went for it on 4th down twice, didn't get it either time, and both times were head scratching as to why we did it. I was getting flashbacks of Coaching to Win 100% on those plays, especially the second one. We were literally on like the 28-yard line, and it was 4th and 4, and he went for it. And we were ahead, I think it was 16-6 at that time, and I'm just sitting here like, what? Or 15-6, excuse me. And I'm like, why are we doing this right now? You got the lead. Your defense is playing great. Just take the points. I mean, why are we going for it at this stage of the game? It just
remind me of Zach Taylor today. He went for it on 4th down, like 4th and 1 on his own 30, on our own 30.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was great.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, the defense for the Eagles gave up 100 rushing yards by the time that there was only a couple minutes into the second quarter. Atlanta had already had 100 rushing yards, and then outside of the red zone, you know, the defense kind of struggled early, but they got better later. And yeah, I mean, like I said, pretty much that's pretty much it. I mean, we played really, really well. And even the rushing stuff, it made sense by the end because constantly they kept going back to, on the commentary, it was Greg Olson and some other guy, they kept going back to the fact that our new defensive coordinator, Gannon, his main thing is kind of like a bend don't break thing. He doesn't care about giving up 5 rushing yards here, 7 rushing yards there, 4 rushing yards there, a pass here, as long as nothing gets past you and they don't give up big plays. He doesn't care about the dinking and dunking down the field. He's fine with that. That's basically his mantra. He'll let you dink and dunk down the field, but you're not going to beat us on these huge, massive chunk plays. And that's kind of his philosophy, I guess you would say. And it showed, because a lot of the first half, that's what I'm seeing. A lot of these, like, wow, it looks like, nobody's even really guarding that stuff. And the running game's just, they're getting 5 yards down the field before they're even touched. So I feel like the philosophy was made clear as the game went on. I'm like, yeah, I can see what that is. And then the last thing too is the punter. We have a freshman, or not a freshman, I guess that's college term, but rookie punter, and that guy was absolutely outstanding today. His first 3 punts, he dropped inside the 20, and 2 of them were inside the 10. It was like, wow, hello. But yet here we are going for it on 4th down anyways. I'm like, okay, we got a punter that's dropping it inside the 10 like it's Madden, and we're going for it on 4th down. What are we doing here? It just kind of makes me wonder, like, why? How does that make sense in the analytics department? But I've never understood that anyway, so I'm not going to try to understand it now. But yeah, great game. Good game for a lot of rookies. Jalen Reagor had a good game. Quez Watkins came out like a house of fire. Devontae Smith was probably the most targeted receiver all day. Dallas Goedert looked great. Miles Sanders was awesome. Speaking of rookies, Gainwell, the new running back that we got from, I think it was Kentucky or Toledo or somewhere like that. That dude was a monster, and the thing about Sanders and Gainwell was they didn't just do a great job of running and catching the ball, but they also, on multiple plays, were excellent at stopping the rush. I mean, they did amazing. And speaking of the rush, excellent job to the defensive line, because with rushing just 4 people, they were in Atlanta's backfield all day long. They did outstanding. I mean, I don't even remember a play where they blitzed. That's how infrequently they did it, and they were in the backfield all day. So, excellent job by the defensive line. If we can keep that up, I mean, we're going to be a handful for anybody, because that alone right there, not having to blitz to get pressure, is huge in this league. Huge. So if we can keep that up, then I like what we're doing here. But, as far as play calling and everything like that, I was really happy. Outside of those 2 4th down attempts when I felt like they were just pointless, I was really, really happy with this performance. Everything looked good. I like the way that, like I said, it seemed like the Sirianni guy came in here and he didn't just say, well, I'm going to run my system no matter who we have. It seems like he's really kind of making the offense flourish for the weapons that we currently have, instead of, taking what we have and trying to fit them into his system. And so, he brought the systems with him, but he's also kind of using the systems that we already had there. And I like that, because, we have all these fast, speedy weapons and stuff like that could be used if used correctly. And I feel like we're turning over a new leaf. I got to be honest with you, I was not sold on this guy in any shape or form leading into this game. But what I will say is, from what I saw today, it looks like he has a handle on what's going on here. If one game could tell the story, then I think at the very least, he can keep calling plays for us. Because I was really happy with what I saw from him. And Jalen Hurts played really well today. Like I said, Devontae Smith, all these young players were really, really awesome. Offensive line was good. Defensive line was balling. Receiving core was good. Tight ends were excellent. Running backs were awesome. It was just a great performance. And overall, I was so very happy. So very happy. It was after the absolute number 2 in my mouth at the end of last season, this was like 15 minutes. I mean, it was just so refreshing. I can't even tell you how refreshing it was after the crap that we had to go through, especially at the end of last season. So yeah, I know that was a little bit long-winded, but that was the Eagles game for you today, and yeah, good job by the Eagles. Can't be more happy as a fan.
Yeah, you said it all. There's really not much I can say that you didn't cover. Huge win for them to get off to a good start.
On the road too.
You know, like I said, most people probably shared, your feelings toward the new coach. I was kind of in his corner after I had heard an interview he had done on NFL radio. It kind of changed my opinion of him back then. But it's definitely a nice thing for Philly fans to see, some nice football being played, rather than listening to excuses and about, how we're coaching to win. So it was actually nice to get the win rather than talking about coaching to get it. So very good start to the season, big win, and I look for good things to come for the Eagles the rest of the season. And if they can continue to kind of cater to Hurts' needs, and what he does well, because they definitely got some weapons on the team. And I mean, I don't think the record was an indication of the level of talent that this team has. So I'm thinking if this team, keeps up the momentum, they're going to be tough moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this one was going to be, like you said in the preview, a 9-6 game. So for them to come out and score that many points, apparently the systems are a little bit more developed than what I thought the systems were. So again, good solid win for the Eagles. This is the Falcons, and now we know what the Falcons are. They're really bad, especially now without Julio Jones gone and too many young people, and Ryan looks old to say the least. Mm-hmm. So, but again, road win, good job for the Eagles, and we'll see what they do moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely find out, because their next game is against the 49ers. So.
Yeah, tough loss for the Eagles. Just playing. I mean, I had to say it just because, like, I didn't necessarily get a piece on the Lions game, so.
Oh, sorry.
And then, but no, it's all good. But as far as the Eagle game goes today, great win. Way to come out and really set the tone for the season. Yeah, nothing bad to say. I mean, sure, everybody else has kind of said everything. So, yeah, just look forward to seeing how well this coach develops, and also just how they match up against some of these other teams. Because Falcons, not necessarily the toughest opponent. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I completely agree. But I mean, with that though, it was on the road. It's the first week, so it's a new coach, a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. So you don't really know what to expect, and it's on the road in Atlanta, which isn't always an easy place to play. And they handled themselves really well with mainly a lot of younger players. I mean, a lot of the people that had great games today were the rookies and second-year players. So, I mean, I feel like they really showed what the potential is. Now, with that being said, unfortunately, they probably got everybody's hype and excitement for the season up high just to follow it up with absolutely getting creamed next week. And then we're going to be upset because everything was going so well this week.
I mean, the one thing that kind of like made me think like, oh dang, this Sirianni guy might be pretty legit, was that one day when they were having training camp and he pulled all those players away from practice because they were, told them to get their acts together. So, I mean, that to me kind of just made me think like this guy's a pretty good leader, obviously, because I mean I don't think you see a lot of coaches doing that kind of stuff where they literally stop practice because they're not pleased with what they're seeing.
Yeah.
And they think the players are half-assing it. So yeah, I mean, with a guy with that kind of motive to win, I mean, you want to have guys like that, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Sirianni. I think he's going to be the right coach for the job there.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way: if he continues what he started today, then I think the future's looking up. And honestly, I think we're going to be, if we can keep this kind of stuff up, I think we're going to be better than even I thought we were going to be going into this season. I really think that we could be pretty good, and right now we're leading the division. We're the only NFC East team that won a game today, so boom boom. But anyways, let's move on to the last team here. We got the Denver Broncos game, talking about the NFC East. Thank you on behalf of Eagles fans everywhere for kicking the crap out of the Giants today. And yeah, I couldn't be more happy with that. And from what I did see of the game, it kind of looked like the defense was doing what they normally do. But isn't it amazing how much of a difference it can make to have the defense playing like that when you're playing with a lead, as opposed to, all right, but we need to come back. They're not only are they playing lights out, but they're doing it with the cushion of knowing that they're actually winning the game. And I think that really just made a huge difference today, because they were able to really get after it and not be like, oh, well, we better, otherwise we're going to lose the game, because the offense, at least at times did a really good job pulling through. And, I think that Bridgewater did relatively well. I think, he could have been better, but from what I saw, he played well, and he did what you expect from him, which is pretty much manage the game, which is what you picked up in free agency, a game manager. That's what you were looking for. That's what you got. And if he can continue to do that with the backing that he has with the defense, and the running game played well, or ran the ball well today as well. So if he can continue to do what he did today, then watch out for the Broncos moving forward, because there's not going to be too many people that are just moving the ball up and down the field on them. So you're going to have to have a pretty stout defense on your own end. Otherwise, you're going to be, probably, if you get behind, it's going to be hard to come back against this team. So, great job for the Broncos, and I think it's a sign of what could be. I think this is what the Broncos could be if the offense is doing what they're capable of. And this is what last year's team was doing, and the year before that, and the year before that. But instead of anemic offense, you actually had some points on the board. And like I said before, just to wrap it up, when the Broncos score 27 points and they have the defense that they have, I don't see many teams beating them outside of, maybe some of your offensive juggernauts might be able to hang with them. But your average teams like the Giants, I don't even really give them a chance if the Broncos score 27. So, yeah, that's my piece.
Yeah, 27 points. Let that sink in. 27. I haven't seen that in about 5 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great job by Teddy today. He actually made some plays outside the pocket. I think there was one on the 4th down or something. He made kind of a juke move on one of the DBs, kind of stiff-armed him a little bit just to give him a little space, and completed it for a touchdown, which was a great job by the Albert O. Keep his feet in and dive for the pylon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like I said, great performance. Judy was catching balls. He had 6 catches. Then unfortunately he went out. Thankfully just to a high ankle sprain, so it wasn't broken like it looked like it was.
Yeah, it looked horrible.
So hopefully we'll have him back in the fold here in the next several weeks down the road when we need him more. Yeah, great defense performance. I think Vaughn had 2 sacks. They held the Giants to about 166, I think, midway through the 3rd quarter. And then there was garbage time at the end, and of course they gave up, 6 points on a touchdown with 1 second to go.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked. It'd have been nice to have a single digit
Yeah.
on the board.
Mhm.
But we're flying out of New York with a W, and that's a big accomplishment. And I think the team's gonna have more confidence going forward, just because they answered some questions, and especially Teddy answered some questions that probably the fan base was still scratching their head about, who to choose and what to do. But he made all the right decisions, ate it when he needed to take the loss, and then didn't put it in bad situations where normally we would turn it over and then give the other team the advantage.
Mhm.
So it was nice to see. So like I said, I couldn't ask for anything more out of the first game, out of the gate. So we'll see what we do next week at Jacksonville. So.
Mm. Interesting.
Well, I can ask for more. I wasn't too happy. Cortland Sutherland only gave me 2 points day for fantasy.
Yeah,
come
5.
on, one catch. Come on,
Yeah,
do
5.
something.
Yeah, 5.2.
What the hell, Williams? Come on, get off your ass. Let's do it.
Yeah, he got 5.2.
Offensive line, get it together. Score 27. It should have been 47.
Yeah, 5.2 points for fantasy for Cortland Sutton today.
Yeah, thanks a lot. No, just kidding. That's irrelevant, really, in the real world. But yes, definitely agree with everything that has already been said. I think the Broncos' defense is, again, going to be kind of what drives this team. They didn't bring in Teddy to change the look of the team, per se. Like Don said, he was brought there just not to make mistakes. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Play within the offense, take your chances when you can, don't make stupid plays, which, it doesn't seem like he's the guy that's going to do that. I think what he's hoping is that he puts them in a situation where there's no reason to ever want to get rid of him. I'm sure he'd like to get himself into a contract there. And if he wins, let's say he takes him to a Super Bowl, I don't necessarily think it's a given they're going to get rid of him. They might. Rodgers is a pretty special player, but, why mess with it if it ain't broke? Yeah. Depending on how it goes the rest of the season. Because, when Teddy was in the Saints, he looked awful damn good. So, and now he's got some talent around him, and he's got a defense better than he's ever played for. So, I think, ceiling's going to be high for the Broncos moving forward. I certainly like my bet I got in, so we'll see what happens with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I got to say. Buff you, Bidrich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as my piece on the Broncos, to me, they technically only held them to 7. Because, literally the Giants made an effort to go down and score a touchdown when it was already decided. So, yeah, that part of it was like, okay, whatever. But, really good showing for the Broncos defense, especially. Saquon wasn't really doing much of anything throughout the day. Von Miller looked like he did like in his MVP years. Honestly, he was I mean, I don't think he was ever. Was he the MVP at any point or no?
He was
Defensive player of the year. Yeah.
Defensive player of the
Well,
year,
yeah.
but not MVP.
I don't know why I said MVP, but you know.
He's
Not the same thing.
Super Bowl 50, he was MVP. So.
Yeah. There you
Yeah,
go.
well, nonetheless, he looked great, and you know, I would tend to agree with pretty much everything that everybody else said. I mean, if the Broncos offense is rolling at all, then there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to hang with this team because, I mean, the defense is already about as good as it gets, and yeah, I mean. If the Broncos put up over 20 points, I don't see a lot of teams being able to win against them. So, yeah, good showing, and yeah, that's about all I gotta say.
Yeah.
And I definitely see them winning in Jacksonville, and I'll explain why next week.
Do you need to? Well, you know, humidity.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the first week of the season, so it's kind of like a weird thing. I mean, who is this? Is this a great sign of what the Broncos have to come, or is it a sign of the Giants struggling? I mean, or is it both? I would say it's probably a little bit of both, because I think I like what the Giants did over the offseason. But with that being said, we all picked the Broncos to win this game, and we all said we thought the Broncos were the better team. So with that being said, I think they'll definitely be the better team going against Jacksonville. And then I think, with the Broncos, as it always goes, once you start into the division play, we'll see what happens because the Chargers are, a team that's improving, and they look like they got their quarterback. The Raiders, seems like the Broncos have pretty good success against the Raiders, but we'll see what they look like this year. They are playing tomorrow against the Ravens. And then, of course, the Chiefs are the Chiefs.
Get that W, Raiders.
So, anyway, once they start playing the teams in their division, we'll see what happens. But if this is a sign of things to come, then, hey.
Yeah, no, like I said, I this is, like you said, hopefully with the lesser teams, that this is kind of what we wanted them to kind of start off at, right? We need to get up to a fast start and win the first 3 games. There should be no questions about that, right? That's kind of what the path that they need to do.
Yeah.
They need to take care of the Giants, they need to take care of the Jaguars, and then take care of the Jets at home in the first week.
Yeah.
But then right after that, then we'll see where they're at, because then it's the Ravens and Pittsburgh. So
yeah.
that will be the 2 weeks that we go, okay, where is this team officially now? But if they can do what they're supposed to do in the next few weeks, that's kind of would be exactly the blueprint that we were looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is to piggyback off that, and this goes the same thing for the Eagles too. Is like, you're talking about, oh well, it's just the Falcons, but at the same time, this goes for all of us. Last season, wins against teams we were supposed to handle weren't happening.
Yeah.
We were sitting here sweating against the Jets.
Yep.
Watching the Broncos and Brett Rippon or whatever throw 4 picks against the Jets.
Yep.
And, I mean, and the Eagles, we couldn't beat the Bengals. And, I mean, there was just a host of teams that, this is a game we should win. And we were either sweating through it or losing those games.
Yeah.
And so, really, I think in some respects, more telling than how we play against the teams that we're supposed to struggle against is, do we take care of business against the teams we're supposed to take care of business against? And this is, for both of our teams, this is a great step in the right direction, because last season it didn't matter who we were against. We didn't see this. You didn't just see a game where you're like, I can relax. It was like, oh shit, here we go.
Exactly. What are you doing this?
Constant nail biters.
Exactly. And usually it started with the coaching staff doing some.
Yes, and that was the great thing is Vic just shut up and went on the sidelines today. That was so great.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about it is the Giants coach on the touchdown, he challenged the touchdown. Well, you can't challenge touchdown scoring play because it's already under review, so it's already done. So he lost a timeout and everything with it. So I was like, dude, that guy's doing a Fangio. That's awesome. So it was nice to see the other coaches having problems.
Yeah.
Than mine.
No calling a timeout in their 2-minute drills or anything
exactly.
like that.
Yeah. Why don't you give the other team a blow before they put it in for 6?
Yeah, exactly.
Good job, Vic.
Give their offensive line a break. They've been,
Yeah.
moving pretty fast here.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. Well, I wish I could say that with the Eagles, but like I said, there was still those 2 fourth down conversion attempts that I still scratch my head at. But whatever. I mean, like I said, the biggest thing is can we take care of business against these teams that we're supposed to beat on paper? And both of our teams were able to do that. And I think the Bengals had a very tough opponent today. They were able to take care of business, and the Lions, they had a very tough.
Same old Detroit.
Yeah. I was gonna say the Lions had a very tough opponent that they were supposed to lose to, and they did that. But they played, they showed some heart. So there you go. I guess we all got something happy to.
One more thing I wanted to mention about the Bengals game is penalties today were very low in terms of. I think we only had 3 penalties this game, and let's just say it made a huge difference because.
You should give the penalty for waking up in the morning.
Well, and also, I mean, it did help that the Vikings had 12 penalties and lost 116 yards in total, which is
That's a touchdown.
yeah, that's a whole touchdown. So
Well, the Eagles got enough penalties for everybody at this table. We got 14. I mean, shoot, we could separate that amongst the 4 teams, and that would still be high for each of us singularly, let alone when one team is getting 14 penalties and half of them are on the offensive line. It's like, good Lord.
But yeah, I mean, I saw exactly what I wanted to see out of the running game today. And if we can keep that going, I tell you guys what, this Bengals team is going to be hell to stop. I don't see a lot of teams holding them under 20 points. I'll say that.
Except for the Eagles.
Yes, it's gonna be a fun season, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, when the Bengals play against the Lions, we'll see where they're really
Detroit's
at.
first shutout of the season. Take them to the woodshed.
Yeah.
But
But
that time we'll be biting some kneecaps off.
But yeah, so next week we've got some some interesting games on this channel. Jaguars, we got the
Bears,
49ers, Bears, and the Packers. So another interesting slew of opponents, and we'll see what happens. But for this week, thank you guys for watching this video. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. We're going to try to keep these reviews coming. And, this year I actually have off on Sundays and stuff like that. And so I should be able to watch most of the Eagles games this year. And based on what I saw today, I'm actually not dreading it.
I'm generally having Sundays off now.
Yeah, I'm not dreading. Yeah, I'm not like, oh man, here we go. Say a prayer before I turn it on. Hopefully we'll be able to keep bringing out this content for you. I know for a fact that there's going to be at least 1 week where there won't be any review because we're going to be out of town. But with that being said, the rest of the time, get yourselves ready for some more hot action in here. And, especially once the losing starts, because I'm sure for my team it will, should be pretty interesting. So with that being said, guys, I'm Bryson.
I'm Bennett.
I'm Steve.
And I'm done.
See you guys in the next video.